All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today I'll be doing my preview and prediction for Week 5 game between Indiana and Iowa. Hoosiers, 7.5-point favorites. 49.5 is the total. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, for some reason on Peacock from Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. Anything started with the Indiana offense on that Hawkeye defense. This is a group for Indiana that has been incredibly dominant so far this year, putting up 54.8 points per game, and that's not a fluke considering the most points they scored all year was on Saturday against Illinois in a 63-10 thumping. And sorry, they did have 73 against Indiana State. But you get what I'm saying. This team's not skewed one bit when it comes to its numbers because they just beat the brakes off a top 10 team. And they've just had tremendous balance all year long. Of course, I want to start with Fernando Mendoza. In the offseason, we felt he was a perfect scheme fit for this offense, replacing the outgoing Curtis Rourke, and he's been tremendous. I mean, this guy should be in the Heisman conversation at this point. Over 1,000 total yards, 16 touchdowns, no interceptions, completing 77% of his passes. His receivers have been off the charts. Omar Cooper Jr. leads the way. A lot of his production didn't come against Indiana State, where he put up 200-plus and 4 scores, but he's been productive consistently. Elijah Surratt, he got on track here against Illinois. He went off 92 yards and 2 scores. This is a phenomenal duo they have. E.J. Williams has a pair of touchdowns this year. Jonathan Brady's been involved a little bit. I mean, it's a great receiving group for Indiana. More importantly, though, their rushing attack, 300-plus yards in every single game so far this year, including this past Saturday against Illinois. I mean, they continued the streak against a fellow Big Ten ranked opponent. Unreal. There's really no running back one. Kalen Black, Roman Hemby, Kobe Martin, a freshman, really emerging. And you also have Lee Beebe in the rotation. We got 4 different backs all split in touches right down the middle, and they're all incredibly efficient. These guys are great. I mean, top to bottom, there's not much you can say in terms of criticism for Indiana. They're not turning the ball over. They're putting up yards in bunches in all areas. The offensive line has 2 perfect tackles, Carter Smith on the left side, and then the right side, Cleo Benson. He's really doing well playing as a full-time tackle. Maybe on the interior, there's some mismatches potentially. I think Bray Lynch at right guard, Pat Coogan at center, though. Drew Evans at left guard. These guys are all great. I don't have any too many knocks on them, but I don't think they're just going to overpower everybody, right? Especially this Iowa defensive line that is phenomenal for them. I mean, this is one of the best groups in the country because this is the one area of their football team they got back a lot of veterans. Max Llewellyn has been incredibly productive so far this year. Ethan Herkett, Aaron Graves, these guys have been dominant pass rushers, really good against the run as well. Jonah Pace on the interior hasn't been as solid. He's been pretty iffy when it comes to missed tackles. Brian Allen, also a veteran, has been respectable. So I mean, it's a phenomenal defensive line. I love what they bring to the table for Iowa. This linebacking group, I mean, they're going to really find their footing at some point. It's a lot of guys who've been in the program for a while. Jaden Harrell, Carson Schrar, these guys are really impressive in terms of their leadership. They've never really seen the field until now. These guys are juniors, seniors, and they're playing pretty quality football. I think Harrell, despite leading the team in tackles, has been pretty inconsistent, though. His efficiency has not been ideal. He's got 7 missed tackles on the year. He's been getting a little beat up in coverage. For Iowa, this defense was not very good against Rutgers. I thought Rutgers would do well in that game. I didn't think they would have as much success as they did. 330 through the air. Didn't do much on the ground until they got into the red zone. They were able to find a little bit of edge. And I don't think anyone's really going to be able to run the ball in Iowa. So I think this is why this is a fun matchup. This elite rushing attack versus this elite run defense. It's a great test. Another one for Indiana to prove that they're really a legit ball club. I didn't think the defensive line for Illinois was all that good. 300-plus yards and flawless pass protection. Those certainly was not on my bingo card one bit, but this will be a fun matchup for them to see if Iowa can force them to be one-dimensional. But I think this year teams are going to have no problem being one-dimensional against Iowa because the secondary is just not that good. T.J. Hall, Deshaun Lee, veteran corners. These guys are more than willing against the run. Very impressive in that regard, but in terms of coverage, they have a lot of inconsistencies, and I don't think they're really going to ever have standout games. The cover 2 shell, though, that they operate out of Phil Parker's defense, it's impressive. It's really good. Xavier Nwakpa, a veteran safety, he's also phenomenal when it comes to run support. Zach Lutmer in the slot is having a good start to the year. These guys were getting beat up, though. I mean, they really could not hold a lot of these receivers for Rutgers, and I think they're probably even more talented for Indiana, and they have a lot more chemistry, a lot more efficiency as well. Moving to the other side of things, the Iowa offense, they got into a shootout with Rutgers, and they won. I mean, this team is just crazy, and they're annoying to play. They had a blocked field goal. Rutgers also missed another field goal. They had a kick return touchdown to start the game. I mean, it's just what they do. They grind games out, and when those things happen, when special teams, big plays happen, they don't lose football games. And I think for Indiana, that's one thing that Cignetti is certainly aware of. Is they got to be sound when it comes to special teams. Cannot give Iowa any type of free yardage or points or anything like that, because they will make you pay. This offense, though, they did come alive. It was pretty impressive to see the balance they had. 346 yards of offense. The first 3 weeks of the year, they played 2 weak opponents, and they played Iowa State, where they were awful on offense and still only lost by 3. So this is by far their best showing of the season. Mark Gronowski, he was great. I mean, this is a guy who throughout the year has not been very accurate. I don't think he really is going to be. 186 yards passing, though, 10 yards per attempt, 12 of 18. That's very good. He also ran for 55 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's been really good with his legs this year. 6 touchdowns on the ground, won in every single contest so far. That's really a strong part of his game. It's really starting to be utilized a lot, especially in the red zone. They don't really have too many talented options outside of the tight ends. I think Zach Ortworth, wide receiver Seth Anderson, it's going to be your best guys to really target. Addison Ostrenga, if he's healthy, maybe, but Sam Phillips does lead them with 115 yards receiving. You have Jacob Gilbert behind them with 8 receptions. They're just not that talented, and I think against tougher opponents like Indiana, it's going to be hard to generate much. I mean, this is a secondary that did have a bust early on, allowed Illinois to score a touchdown. That was pretty much it, though. I mean, the secondary played lockdown after that. Jamari Sharp, D'Angelo Pons, this is a phenomenal 1-2 punch at corner. Devon Boykin coming over, it's been phenomenal in the slot. Amari Farrell, one of the standouts on last year's teams, off to a great start. And then Lewis Moore leads the team in tackles from his safety spot. So these guys have been tremendous. How will this defensive line do against this O-line? It's a Illinois offensive line that has some nice size, but they've really struggled to run the ball this year, and they absolutely ate them up. Mikael Kamara, elite pass rusher. Keelan Wyatt, coming off the edge along with Stephen Daly, been really good. I think the interior was really shined. Tyreek Tucker, Hosa Wheeler, these guys have been great against the run. It's been a very impressive start to the year for this defense. Isaiah Jones at his linebacker spot was great against Illinois, made a handful of big plays for them. So it seems like they got some more guys who are molding in the stars here across this defense. Aiden Fisher, of course, is tremendous. He's been pretty poor in coverage, though. He's a phenomenal run defender, as is Elijah Hardy. He's a new starter at linebacker. Him and Isaiah Jones, the aforementioned, have been great. Love this defense top to bottom. I mean, they just do such a good job of coaching. Cignetti and his defensive coordinator, they've been together a long time. They know exactly what they're doing. They have a great formula for what's going to happen, against most opponents, and they're just dominating them on defense. And that was the case last year with a top-ranked run defense. For Iowa, though, the one equalizer they do have is this offensive line is great. For a couple of years over the past few, they really struggled. They didn't have a lot of size. They didn't have a lot of talent on the offensive line, but this is one of the best groups in the country. Trevor Locke at left tackle is really impressing. Bayou Stevens at left guard, Logan Jones at center, and then right guard Cade Piper. These are veterans of the program. These guys have been multi-year starters for a while now. These guys are good. They're a phenomenal bunch. Jennings Dunker, of course, who I love at right tackle. So it's not going to be a cakewalk, because this O-line is that neutralizer. It's not like they run the ball at a very high rate. 160 yards and 4 touchdowns, though, against Rutgers. It's going to get the job done for you. Even with 131 against Iowa State, it allowed them to stay ahead of the sticks and keep the game close. So the run game's not going to get completely shut out. They don't really have a running back one either. Terrell Washington, Kamari Moulton, when he's healthy, I'd say he's probably the RB1. But Terrell Washington, Jason Patterson, Xavier Williams, those 3 guys have been getting the bulk of the carries. Moulton, they're hoping to have him back and healthy at some point here. I know he's really been battling a lot of health. He got back against Rutgers for 14 attempts and 68 yards, and he also had a score. So they're hoping that he can stay, towards 100% and be on the field full time. This rushing attack for Iowa, it's not going to blow you away. They have numerous options in the backfield. The O-line is phenomenal, and they don't make a whole lot of mistakes. So they're trying to stay out of those 3rd and longs. That's obviously the goal for Iowa. They're probably not going to do the greatest of jobs of doing that, but they will run the ball quite well. Moving to the final thoughts and the prediction. Something with Iowa over the last couple of years under Kirk Ferentz is when they play elite opponents, they just have no shot, because in the first half they keep it as close as they can, and then eventually it just all falls apart where this defense plays well, the offense does what it can, but eventually these top-tier opponents, they just pull away. The score is never flashy, so 7.5 I think is dicey, but they should win by at least 14. Final score will be something weird. I'm going to go 34-13, but it might be even less than that. Indiana's just playing elite football right now, both sides of the ball. I don't think Iowa's going to be the one to crack them. Going on the road here, though, in Kinnick is always a tough challenge. If they turn the ball over a few times, you're going to lose. It's as simple as that. But the big teams, they know the formula. They know that they, outweigh them in terms of talent. Iowa schemes up a great approach, and that's how they keep it close. But if you just protect the football and stay patient, and you do well on special teams, you will beat Iowa by a pretty healthy margin. If you're a top-tier opponent, I think Indiana's clearly showing they're in that category. So I'm going to take Indiana to cover, get the job done here against Iowa. That's me for this episode. If you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.